My people, my people, my people, my people. Once again, this is the distant shore. This is the distant shore. Hollywood Ether Trials Training. The distant shore. All right. The distant shore is a promised land. The urban beautiful world. End zone. The distant shore is the urban beautiful worldwide end zone. Final resting place. I, John, saw standing on a sea of glass, a number that no man can number, singing the song of Moses and the Lamb. Huh? So the ultimate final victory lap is identified by a group that can sing a song that no man can sing. So this is not a human distant shore. This is not a common distant shore. This is not a European distant shore. This is not a U.S. citizen distant shore. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels, Satan, and cast him out. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth, for Satan has come down to you, and he is as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour, because he knows he has but a short time. So where is the disconnect? My people perish for lack of knowledge. My people perish for lack of vision. What vision? Satan will impersonate an angel of light. So the Heavenly Father who said, I am the potter and you are the clay. He said, woe to the clay inhabitants of the earth, for Satan has come down to you, and he is as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. So the end zone is not on earth. Earth is the gridiron. Earth is the lines on the football field where the battle happens in the trenches. That's why it's called a supernatural Super Bowl. Amateurs play in a Super Bowl. Amateurs who watched us all their life play in a fake European-owned Super Bowl. We play in the renowned supernatural. Only divine supernatural beings would even dare to stand in the lines with us. Ain't no referees in our league. Can't nobody save you. When you go to our courts, Rucker Park in New York is just, listen, it's just one small example. I could show you 10 other courts. Naz Park in Brooklyn. First of all, let's talk about kings. New York don't have no kings. Ain't no kings of New York. If you claim king of New York, you disrespecting the true kings of the USA, first of all. Just like ain't no kings in New England. Ain't no kings in New Hampshire. Anytime you see new, that's the British saying Hampshire is in England. So they come here and they say this is New Hampshire. York is in London. But because they failed, now they come here, they want to take our lands, and they claim this is New York. Amsterdam is in the Dutch Netherlands, the Dutch underworld, the German underworld, the German cesspool is the Dutch Netherlands. And they said New York was New Amsterdam before it was New York. So there was a battle between the Dutch and the British, and the Dutch lost the battle to the British, and so now they switched the name from New Amsterdam to New York. And now y'all clowns, you tell me which one of y'all clowns from England. Jay-Z claims he's from England. He done named his son Sir. He done sacrificed his babies so that Paul McCartney and them, so that Queen Elizabeth will crown him a Sir. He done sacrificed his wife and his children to the German fascist, Confederate, bigot colonials who want to take our lands, and these niggas and all of y'all signing up. Listen, before Abraham was, before a European was, I am that I am, the king of the USA. The USA headquarters is Philadelphia. The spiritual headquarters of heaven on earth is Philadelphia, Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 3. To the angel of Philadelphia write, I know your works. I know you. This is the same thing that the word said Adam knew Eve. So he said, my people perish for lack of knowledge, but Philadelphia will never perish because Philadelphia knows me and I know Philadelphia. Huh? We own Philadelphia. Trenton, New Jersey owns Philadelphia. See this? Flame. Flame. Hollywood eat the flames. You see this? This is called ownership. This is called ownership. Nas, Beyonce. You got these. Any of y'all that got a dat tape. Any of y'all that got a dat tape. Any of y'all that have a dat tape. Just go to Jadakiss from the Lox. Styles P from the Lox. Just go to Eve. Rough Riders Eve. Any of y'all that got a dat tape. Any of y'all that got any of your work on film, on analog, we are the kings. Before there was digital, there was analog. Before there was 9mm, there was 45s. Before there was Smith & Wesson, there was Michael and Yes, MC Michael and Yes, Michael's Angels, MC Michael and Yes MC, 45s. Top Guns. I'm the Alien Nation. Her RPG, the Rugged Prophetic Ghost. Armory of God. The 45, Nas, Beyonce. Hip hop, NFTs, We the only people in the world. The hip hop NFT fashion statement and the hip hop NFT financial statement. So there's a fashion statement, the image, Hollywood Pictures. I, John, saw standing on the sea of glass, a number that no man can number, singing the song of Moses and the Lamb that no man can sing. This is a divine, distant shore, sea of glass, mirror class, sea of glass, mirror cast, Hollywood Pictures, Hollywood motion capture pictures. So we have cameras that film in 4D. Hollywood motion capture pictures. Hollywood motion. When you move, when you spit the divine on analog, not digital is artificial. When you compare Kim Kardashian to Beyonce, you get the difference between fake digital and real Hannah's log. Analog is Ham's analog. What's Ham's analog? Names found written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Ham's analog. Who was Ham? Cush. Who is Cush? The queens of Sheba, the men of Nineveh will judge this final generation. Ham's analog. Let us create Elohim, that's the divine, the renowned supernatural divine. In our image, after our likeness created he them. Renowned Mrs. and Mr. Renowned Supernatural created he them. Man and woman, husbandman, sons of God, and womb of God. Created he them. The husbandman, sons of God, and the husbandry, womb of God. Why? Because a husbandman is supposed to groom his bride. And when he grooms his bride properly, husbands, love your wives as I have loved. She will be fruitful and multiply and bring forth abundant life, tree of life, water of life, fruit. And the first fruits are mine. And we call it the layup cycle. You got the breeding grounds, and then you have the birthright grounds. The queen is not impoverished. The queen is not locked into a concrete jungle. She has one estate where she holds all of her wedding feast banquets, the wedding party, the wedding band, parties. That's called the feeding ground. Then the honeymoon breeding ground, she leads the wedding party. And we go party by ourselves. It's a whole nother set of pride lands. And then when it's time to bring forth more fruit, the birthright la la lands. And then you always got the water of life hole. The Son of God met the woman at the well, right? He said, if you knew who asked you for a drink, you would ask me for a drink, and I would give you living waters. Huh? You got clowns out here talking about renewable energy. You got clowns out here. They can't even grow a crop. Jerusalem, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Syria, they can't even grow a crop. And they got a fallen pope running around here talking about climate change, and they G20 summit. Yo, they the cursed vagabonds are the reason why when you put them out your lands, the land nature will automatically do what it's supposed to do. As long as they're in your land will be accursed. As long as you allow them permission, as long as you allow them to prance around, everywhere they go, curse will be the ground. So we here to clear. We here to clean, heal your land. He said, if my people who are called, Michael and his angels, this is an invitation. This is an invitation. But see, these fake clowns, they got a draft. And y'all sign up and y'all give y'all children. And they don't have no inheritance to give y'all. All they got is slavery. All they got is poverty. Well, y'all sign up for their draft? Yeah, you got to sign up. We got two sidelines. We got the Queen of Sheba sideline. And we got the Midianite, King Cyrus, men of Nineveh, Assyrian sideline. So this is all Cush. I am the potter, you are the clay. It's all Cush. 50 shades of clay. I don't care how light you are. I don't care how dark you are. If you're claiming anything else, it's an imposter who is robbing God. And this is a blood audit. Understand? Everything digital is fake, artificial. Once again, when you compare the Kardashians to these queens, this is the difference between digital and Ham's analog. That's why they want you to invest in artificial intelligence. That's why they want you to put your belief and your faith and hope in their technology, because technology is not knowledge. And they know when their economies crash, when their technology crashes, you're going to be at their mercy. Why? Because you've gotten away from your script and your foundation. Your foundation is in analog. Your foundation is bringing forth a fruit after its own kind. Your foundation is bypassing all middlemen and connecting directly with the land, the water, the sea, the creator of heaven and earth, and bringing forth fruit. And then presenting the fruit first back to the creator to get his blessing, and then taking your cut off of the return. Feeding the 5,000. He said, if you love me, feed. If you love me, give. You in a world full of takers. You in a world full of takers. Your churches take from you. Your schools take from you. Your government takes from you. Your IRS listen, that ain't our IRS. Your police take the lives of your babies. Your pastors take the virginity of your sons and daughters. Your doctors lie on behalf of the wicked pastors in them and tell you that the science adds up for the behavior that they doing when they taking it. Listen, these doctors is the worst, most wicked, diabolical warlocks ever. So to cleanse the sanctuary, to cleanse your money, you got to get off it. And listen, we've never left. The reason that our people are still enslaved is because they created fake artificial systems, and then you have bought into the fact that that's real. And the only way is just like a drug addict. So this is intervention and rehabilitation. The only way for a drug addict who has bought into the lie of a artificial euphoria when God created the same exact all natural chemical in your body called dopamine. They created dope to mimic the all. So you have drug makers called doctors, pharmacy, pharmakeia. The root word of pharmakeia is a magician, is a black magic drug dealer. All of your medicines come from the same black magic warlock, witches and warlock drug dealers, making the artificial substitute for that which God gave you. Do you know when you're supposed to get consistent showers of dopamine? When you follow his marriage covenant, when you know your wife is supposed, it says, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Do you know that when one man knows his queen, the water of life shower that she has, they've perverted it. You've let people like Dr. Ruth, a sex, black magic prostitute, witch, define what sexual behavior is. So they've perverted the divine supernatural gift. All sex is perverted, okay? God calls the divine union of the husband and the wife knowledge. And when the husband and the wife is faithful to that, he calls that wisdom. When the husband and wife go outside of that, he calls that unfaithful. That's adultery. So it doesn't matter how you start out, it matters how you end. He said, I am the beginning and the ending. So he calls it knowledge because so many people are unfaithful. It's not wisdom until till death do you part. You have remained faithful. And in between the beginning and the ending, there are constant showers, water of life showers that God called the merry heart medicine. He said, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones and kills. So when these women have never had a male who has been faithful, when these women who have always been in a system that has abused and violated and used them as prostitutes and sexual, listen, sex is not knowledge. Sex is, everybody engaging in sex is a prostitute. Every form of sex is prostitution. Adam knew Eve, and the two became one. And the ultimate climax of that union is called the water of life. Dopamine is released in the woman. And then the icing on the cake is the man also has a water of life release as well. And it's supposed to be in that order. And when you cannot do that, you are impotent. That's what all Satan's followers are called, imps. And then so Satan's followers, because they're imps and impotent, God is the opposite of impotent, omnipotent. And God's sons and daughters is omnipotent, water of life flowing to life everlasting. Imps are barren. So when women have barren wombs and men can't get it up, and men, you have sterile seed, he said, I'll put enmity between your seed Any seed that's sterile, that's not fruit. That's why I said, husbands, love your wives as I have loved. You need to get back to renowned supernatural. You want artificial. Top Gun. So any artist, any artist. So we have Hollywood Studios. Hollywood Studios, where we taking our people. I don't care what art. He said image. Image is everything. He said, I have created in my image after my likeness. So the divine image. This is somebody who sat down with their hand. This is real. When people go into a computer and digitally animate, that's artificial. This is real, based off of a real person, the Son of God, revealing themselves to a artist who captured the vision. My people perish for lack of vision. This is real. That digital manipulation, your Walt Disney Pixar animation, y'all been dumbed down to Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse. Y'all dumbed down to cartoon artificial characters. The layup cycle is, we gonna restore your image. Intervention, rehabilitate. This is R&R, rehabilitation and restoration. Renowned supernatural rehabilitation and restoration. We'll put back your image. All right. So the distant shore. The distant shore is an investment vehicle that my grandmother put together. My grandmother became a widow. My grandfather restored cash flow and financial stability back to our family. But my grandfather died. The word of God says you're supposed to take care of the widow and the orphan, so that the widow and the orphan never falls into the least of these, my brethren, category. And because the world is filled with crabs out here, this system, when it has these women who have cash flow and wealth, they have this fake investment vehicle called Wall Street that European thieves with their thieving banks have created. So you got to go through them. You got to go through their brokers. You got to go through their banks. You got to go through their sons. You got to enrich their sons and daughters to try and make an investment, to grow. That's a middleman. That's an unnatural, ungodly middleman. So a long time ago, these fake children of Abraham, fake Hebrew financial crabs, guided my grandmother through a bad investment. And from that day forward, you know who my grandmother invested in? Me. Her son. Her other son. My sister. My mother. We became the beneficiaries of a trust fund. Michael's Archangel Investments. We became the trust fund babies of my grandfather's wealth and inheritance. Of my grandmother said, I will invest in them. And it's the best investment she could ever make. Because my mother already told her. My mother, when she married her son, told her, your ship has come in. So, not only has her ship come in, but I'm here to judge. The thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. I'm here to judge the thieves that come in the name of Abraham, through the European bankers of the Federal Reserve Bank and their cryptocurrency called the US dollar, through the Bank in London and Bank of England and their cryptocurrency called the British pound, the euro, Chase Manhattan Bank and their cryptocurrency, the Forex exchange cryptocurrencies of the Chinese yen, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, who all traded in slaves during the slave trade and then converted that cryptocurrency of bodies of our distant relatives, the ones who didn't leave Europe and didn't leave Africa when our original ancestors did in 538 AD. God said, I'll require accounting for every drop of blood. Even though my ancestors was never enslaved. You can't shed the blood of nobody, nowhere in our presence. You got to pay. You think that they get to set up banking systems and you think they get to set up stock exchanges and London Stock Exchange and Hong Kong Stock Exchange and Australia Stock? No, they don't get to do none of that. I will require an accounting for every drop of blood, every last one. The Chinese have done their dastardly deeds for the British under communism. Communism says, I am an atheist and I deny the existence of God. Yo, you don't get to come and listen, all you got to do is go back to Joshua. All you got to do is go back to Joshua going into the promised land. And when Joshua was coming across the promised land, coming into the promised land, and the children of Israel didn't come yet, Joshua had already been in the promised land, and so he got to go back and forth. Joshua was the king of the promised land. Moses ain't going to the promised land. Joshua was the king. Joshua sees an angel. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. So the dragon seed was in the land, and God was sending Joshua, his divine child, to cleanse the sanctuary and cast out Satan's fallen seed out of the lands. They don't get to have no lands on earth nowhere. Joshua asked the angel of God, are you for me or my enemies? I'm here to cleanse the land. Joshua chapter 1. The angel said, neither. I'm going to sit back, and whoever has the knowledge, my people perish for lack of vision, and my people perish for lack of knowledge. Whoever demonstrates that they don't have the knowledge, that's who I will be against, and that's who I will be for. When you stake your claim that you got knowledge and the vision, you will be rewarded with. Those who are with us are more than a match for those who are with them. God told the angel to tell Joshua, heaven will throw its weight on the side of those who enter into the covenant of God. I am sitting back waiting to see which of you two who both know the people in the Canaan land knew the covenant because they were the descendants of Noah in the ark. And Joshua knew the covenant because he came out of Egypt with Moses in them. Both knew the covenant. And God said, Them bastards that died in the wilderness for 40 years, they violated because they got free and they worshiped the golden calf. So I'm waiting to demonstrate, I'm waiting to see who these people want to worship, whether it's the people in the Canaan land or the children of Israel. I will not claim them unless they claim the covenant. And Joshua said, I don't care what they do. He said, as for me and my house, we will serve. And Joshua ruled all the days of his life. And the moment that Joshua died, the children of Israel, because they was in the land, then they said, we don't want to worship God. Give us a king like all the other nations. The other nations were the enemies of Joshua, who all lost to Joshua. And because now Joshua's dead, they like, we ain't got to make no covenant. We already live in the land. We don't need God no more. We get to what? I'm just going to let y'all know. My grandmother and my grandfather made a covenant with God. My dad and my mother made a covenant with God, not with no Adventist church. I don't care what I don't care how my daddy's deceived and caught up in. Listen, that's deception. My grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, myself, my wife. And let me tell y'all something. See this book, 1975? I was 1 year old. And my dad got an aunt named Henrietta. She had been sending her children, her oldest son, Richard Mason, her second oldest son, Henry Mason, her oldest daughter, Cynthia Mason, the class of 1966. In 1966, my mother and father was in the 7th grade in a school called Grice Middle School. My cousin Cynthia was at Pine Forge Academy, right outside of Philadelphia, 1966. So I got an aunt and an uncle, Uncle Richard and Aunt Henrietta. They sending their babies to a institution drugs is heroin and coke and all that is ripping through Philly, ripping through DC, ripping through Trenton, ripping through Newark, ripping through New York. It's ripping through everywhere. 1966, the summer of love. Look at Woodstock is 67. They did the Black Woodstock in Apollo in 67. So Aunt Henrietta is like, yo, these fake clowns. 1971, my mother and father was challenged to go into the ministry. Because son and daughter, you know how many people was going to this institution, and just like the rest of y'all HSBCUs and the rest of you, listen, the black church is an abomination and a fake clown. Listen, in Trenton, New Jersey, our elders did the Joshua. They like, this our promised land. We got a covenant with God. I've been sending my babies up to that school and they coming back down here. And just like in DC, just like in Baltimore, just like in New York, listen, cocaine and heroin is ripping through. They like, we need some special forces to go and get our babies. Their youngest baby was here, Ethel. Their youngest daughter was here at Pine Forge right now. And my grandmother's youngest son, Reggie, 1975, right here at Pine Forge Academy. My aunt and my Uncle Richard said to my father and mother in 1971 when they graduated high school, I know y'all ain't get to go to Pine Forge, but y'all need to go get them babies. Y'all need to take the covenant of Joshua that we giving y'all and go show them how it's done. Go show the world how the black church is doing today. Give us a king. And God gave them Saul, and Saul led them into idolatry until God rose up David. So my mother and father are Joshua, and me and my wife is David and Bathsheba. My mother and father represent Joshua. My wife and I represent David and Bathsheba. And all around us, you got fake black church niggas who love the idolatry, and they gonna get the same judgment of God because we expose that they ain't us. I don't care if they next to us. I don't care if they around us. I don't care if they was at the institution. And in 1993, I'm gonna prove it to you. My brethren, Craig Morgan. In 10th grade, we went through an event where we got expelled from school. And Dean Green is in here. Pastor Stephen Richardson is in here. Dean Green, Pastor Stephen Richardson was at the school. Diane Darby, Sam Darby from Trenton, New Jersey, they was at the school. Mom Norwood and Ernie Norwood, they at the school. Mom Beck, Pop Beck, they at the school. Doc Fielder, Mom Fielder at the school. Leon Thomas is at the school. Craig and I was on the chopping block to get expelled. Dean Green goes and gets a knockdown, a 4-week suspension. Dean Green comes, lets us know, I went to bat for y'all. The next year is our junior year. In that summer, so we come back to school. That happened like in January. We come back to school. We finish out our sophomore year. The sophomore year, the summer of our 10th grade year, I'm going back and forth from New Jersey to Brooklyn playing basketball. Craig has decided he going into the ministry. I saw the same fire and passion in Craig Morgan in 10th grade that I saw my father and mother when they received the challenge from Aunt Henrietta and Uncle Richard and a pastor named Pastor Wilson, preached a tent effort at Mount Sinai Seventh-day Adventist Church in Trenton, New Jersey, and my mother and my father decided to get back into the church, but more importantly, to go into the priesthood, the Joshua priesthood, not this Christian, the Joshua take the promised land priesthood. So in 10th grade year, I come up to Brooklyn, and Craig is going through the same thing with the Most High God. Understand, you grateful when everything was about to be taken away, and when somebody intercedes on your behalf, the natural response is gratefulness. But he took it. He like, yo, I'm gonna become a pastor. I'm gonna go to Oakwood when I graduate. I decided I'm gonna go into the ministry. I'm going to Oakwood. That's my right hand man. I'm with you. I ain't saying I'm committing to be no pastor, but yo, my father already got the calling. I already got the anointing. I don't need their approval. Yo, I'm with you though. So our senior year, a group of individuals try and put our name on their sweater, brethren. Brethren had a specific meaning because before us, there was BMOC at Palm Forge Academy. Before BMOC, there was Rackham. After Rackham, there was the Brethren. But during the Brethren, our senior year, they cut half of our class. In our junior year,